Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Vina, and I provide assistance to Anviz for business development and engagement with strategic partners. Today is Tuesday, November 26, 2024. Happy 2 days before Turkey Day. In the rapidly evolving landscape of security technology, palm recognition is emerging as a groundbreaking biometric solution. Unlike traditional fingerprint or facial recognition, palm recognition analyzes the unique patterns of veins and ridges in an individual's palm, offering a high level of accuracy and resistance to forgery. This innovation is particularly transformative in devices like smart locks, where enhanced security and seamless user experience are paramount. By leveraging advanced sensors and AI algorithms, palm recognition ensures quick, touchless authentication while reducing vulnerabilities associated with other biometric systems. As smart homes and IoT devices continue to proliferate, palm recognition is poised to become a cornerstone of next-generation security systems. Joining me for today's podcast is Stephen Sardi, Director of Business Development at Anviz and X-Things, and Jake Franklin, the Sales Director at Anviz, for a robust discussion on what the company is doing in this area. Stephen and Jake, welcome to the podcast.
Good morning, Mark.
Hey, good morning. How are you? All ready for Turkey Day?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Right.
Well, this is such a fascinating area because I think, consumers and businesses, they've seen, biometric technology. They trust, fingerprint technologies. It actually is obviously very, very secure. There is this whole other area, that is highly advanced. It's almost biometrics on steroids. That's probably the way I would phrase it. But Anviz is getting into this market. They're leveraging a lot of the smart lock history and capability that the company's had, and with Ultra Locks, the Ultra Lock family. But let me start with you, Stephen. Let's talk about, frankly, why this category is so interesting, and let's differentiate it from classic biometric technology. So let me get your 2 cents on that.
Well, sure. Fingerprint biometrics has been around now for at least 20 years. It's out in the field. It's proven. It's had its challenges, whether it's performance or what's called spoofing, where somebody can attempt to defeat it by replicating a fingerprint. It's come a long way. However, what I really like about M7, the palm vein reader, is that it takes a bunch of advantages that we've learned in recent years, and it's addressed them very well. So, for example, you need a touch surface. With a fingerprint biometric, you need a touch surface, which makes it potentially a germ carrier. As we've found over the past few years, having a non-contacting technology that is robust as fingerprint, and actually by a lot of measures better, keeps it clean, enrollment's easy. I'm pretty excited about the technology. I think it's a very great competitor to fingerprint biometrics.
So, Jake, let me pull you into the discussion. How do you see some of the key advantages of palm vein technology?
Yeah, I mean, being in the industry for over 14 years and selling some biometrics along the way, fingerprint and face, they come with their own set of nuances and pain points. But palm, I feel like, is a happy medium or hybrid between the two, where you get convenience, easy enrollment, and process for acknowledging card reads. And that's, again, it's even with features of external conditions like skin moisture, temperature, or cleanliness. Palm vein doesn't care about those things, where some of the other biometrics are very detail oriented and need those.
Right. And I think Stephen alluded to this. We'll talk about this in more detail. The whole contactless nature of this, in a post-COVID world, that is attractive to people in many ways who are concerned about touching a surface that may be touched by other people, especially if you're in a commercial setting where there could be hundreds of people touching that surface. Let's get into, Stephen, the comparative performance of the different biometric technologies, security technologies out there, both from a what we like to call false acceptance rate standpoint and false rejection rate. Now, these are obvious. Now we're getting into the weeds a bit because the numbers are so small, but they are meaningfully different. So when you look at the different technologies, from face to palm print to fingerprint to palm vein technology to iris technology, what people would see when they go to the airport and they use a service like Clear, let's talk a little about the differences between the two and why Palm technology is really ultra secure?
Well, of the technologies that we're talking about, identified as fingerprint, facial recognition, palm vein, and iris. Palm vein and iris are basically on par. The numbers are so close you wouldn't notice the difference. So from an accuracy and reliability perspective, you generate the benefits of that, but you gain the advantage that iris is a complicated technology. You've got to present your face. The enrollment is tricky and usage is tricky, whereas palm vein, what I really like about it is there's no memorization of location. You don't have to put your face up against something. You basically are presenting your palm to a surface. And the nice thing about it is it's a simple enrollment. And if you can't remember how to put your hand, we have a locator based right on the display of the product that shows you exactly how to put your hand. I think really most users would become very conversant, and they'd find it very easy to use and wouldn't need the locator, but it's there in case you need it.
Now, Jake, just to dive into this a little bit, we've kind of talked about this before in prior pre-webinar discussions, but if you would use an infrared camera to using ultra infrared light, I mean, literally, it's kind of a fingerprint of veins in your hand. And for those people who don't know, you can't duplicate that.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that's really, really interesting. That most people don't know that. I think most people do know that fingerprints are unique, but there are probably some advanced ways you could kind of sort of duplicate fingerprints. It's really hard. It's Mission Impossible type of stuff. But veins are really important, are really tough to replicate. You can't falsify that.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you brought this up. And, joking aside, being, if you're not Tom Cruise from Mission Impossible, replicating is something that you're just not going to do. Again, I know you mentioned fingerprint. So, when you have a fingerprint image, it's actually an image of your print of your skin, where
Right.
palm vein is using the infrared and actually seeing your vein telemetry in your hand. So it doesn't matter if there's dirt, debris, if you just cut yourself, on your hand. Basically, since you're 4 or very, very young, your palm vein is the same as you are, when you're younger. So again, different factors, cuts, other things, not an issue. And again, we're not looking for capturing an image of your skin palm print. It's actually the infrared piece and the liveness detection, which separates us from others.
Right. Now, Stephen, when we look at kind of the history of biometric technology, scaling from fingerprints, which, believe it or not, that goes back to the Sherlock Holmes, late 18th century area, where it was discovered that people do have different fingerprints and you can't replicate that. Kind of fast forwarding to what we consider highly advanced today with palm vein technology and iris technology. Let's talk about the different application areas, because there is kind of a feeling that, for, some basic applications that need to be secured, but you don't need to spend the extra expense to implement a palm vein implementation. The costs are coming down, which is a good thing. And I think Anviz will play obviously a role in that. But let's talk about the application areas where you think some areas excel for palm vein technology versus it might be overkill.
Well, I think if you're talking about a device like an access control device or a time clock, for example, anything that requires local verification. I mean, everybody today is used to fingerprint technology because they have it on their phones in general. They have facial recognition on their phones. So those technologies are, I think, well understood. But keep in mind that those are very simple technologies for that application. The cost is low because what's required of that technology is very limited. It's a one-to-one verification. But if you're talking about systems, sometimes placing a finger on a reader is, until fairly recently, was the best you can do. A facial has gotten better. Initially, it wasn't that good. It's now getting much better. But what's crept into that is the lack of privacy. What happens if you're being surveilled?
Yes.
If you walk by a device and the camera's on, is your face being captured? And so what I really like about palm vein is, per what Jake was talking about, you can't replicate a palm vein pattern. There's no way to do that. So coupled with liveness detection, when you present your palm to a reader, it's virtually impossible to spoof it, no matter how tricky you get with that. And in terms of where we're going with Anviz price points on our products, it used to be that the concept of a biometric that used palm or even palm prints, the pricing was very high. But Anviz's team rose to the challenge and came up with a product that is priced very reasonably, very attractively, and is targeted to compete against other biometrics, where I think in the world of today, where you don't necessarily, maybe you could apply a fingerprint reader,
Right.
but you'd rather have something that's non-contact because you want to keep your workforce healthy.
Right.
You need their ability to flow through, present their palm, and walk through quickly. This can't be a long-term, it can't take a long time for verification.
Now, Jake, something that should be said, and we've kind of glossed past it, is that Anviz and its relationship with Xthings, and by extension, its extension with UTech, has a very rich history in biometric technology, with smart locks. Ultra locks are very popular. They're they're definitively one of the most popular brands on Amazon at the consumer and mainstream level. Got a lot of know-how in this category. And what's really important about this is not our first rodeo in terms of coming to market with a product. We kind of know what we're doing. So can we talk a little bit about that, just the history of the company and why it's associated with Xthings, and why we believe that we are bringing a product to market that obviously we believe will be very competitively priced, but also is a product that is secure. You can trust it. We value privacy. Stephen alluded to that. So let's talk a little bit about that for a moment, if you don't mind.
Yeah, certainly. So I think Anviz has always put, the customers or end users first in their priorities, and listened. And, I'm not saying other competitors or other things, other companies, but it seems like, Anviz has always listened and had an open ear to end users' wants, requests, what's needs in the markets, emerging trends, and of course, baking that into cross checks or whatever, software suite that we have. And then always taking feedback from end users and what they want and putting that into the design team, engineers, and making sure our hardware reflects what they want. So we've had kind of more consumer line stuff as well for the house. And then we have our kind of, prosumer, if you will, for smart locks, deadbolts, those things. And then of course, people who need the utmost security, enterprise level systems, Palm Vein is something that we feel like is, the market's kind of wanting and needing. Again, that hybrid between facial and fingerprint biometric. It's a happy medium. It has adverse, it can handle different conditions. There's really good positives. And like I said, I think with, Anviz kind of coming to the market with this now, we will help to kind of make this technology very competitive price-wise, and making it easy to deploy, just like fingerprint before, or facial if you've used that, or iris as well.
Right. Now, Stephen, let's kind of get into the meat of the action here. There'll be an image here shown shortly that will show what the M7 Palm Vein actually looks like. So kind of describe to the audience what it will, the form factor looks like. From my perspective, it's a pretty unassuming device. It looks kind of like any other, biometric smart lock, but give the audience a flavor for just how this looks and how we believe it will complement the industrial design of many products, many business and commercial areas where this device will factor into.
Well, sure. I think in this case, unassuming is very good because it looks like a device an installer would be used to. It's a mullion mounting device. Of course, you can mount it to the wall. An installer will know how to run the wiring for it. You could run it off of PoE. So that's, even if you had just an Ethernet connection, you can do that. But if you look at it, yes, it's unassuming, but that's the elegance of the design. The reader's built into it. You get a small display, a brightly lit, nice display. You get a keypad. You also get a card reader. So you get a choice of a card reader to allow you to, every company has a decision as to what they want their verification process to look like. Right. And if a company says Palm is good enough, well, then use the Palm reader. But say you have a MyFair card and you want that to be an alternative method, or you want to couple the two together, our device lets you have all of that in a clean, elegant, easily managed package.
Now, Jake, from a capacity standpoint, this obviously is going to be used in a commercial environment, unlike a home where people, you might have a family of 5 or 6 people. Capacity is not really an issue. But in a commercial environment, obviously we would expect people to install bunches of these in a enterprise or a corporation. So let's talk about the capacity piece, because that's obviously very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, glad you brought this point up. So Kind of to start with, we're having 500 users enrolled in the M7 Palm reader. And then, of course, we're going to be able to build upon that with some upcoming software releases, building upon that scale. But we feel like for people who are looking for high-level security or looking for dual or triple authentication, that this is a good step to increase the security in those hardened areas or the specific areas that you need to have this for. And again, starting with 500 users, again, listening to feedback from our end users, see what we need to do and make sure the software and the hardware carries that going forward.
Right. And to that point, and Stephen, this is why I'd like to get your commentary on this. You got to have a really good dashboard to maintain this. And the reality is people are going to be installing multiple units in their enterprise property. And you want to really have a really, really easy to use, not complicated way of managing all these devices. And so let's talk a little bit about the dashboard management aspect of this.
Well, you have to know they're connected. So for any device that you have that's securing a door, for example, you want to know the device is there and that it's living. And importantly, if it fails for any reason, let's say somebody hits something with a tow motor, for example, you want to know the device is down so that you can repair it. And when you replace it, you want to be able to use your dashboard to move data from your environment to that device to keep it operating. So having the visibility and having management control over it, being able to move data to and from it, is a critical part of the aspect of any access control device.
Right. And I think the other thing that we should point out as well is that, and Stephen, you alluded to it, some corporations, enterprise businesses may not want to just rely on the Palm vein. You can have, it's essentially multiple different layers of security technology. The card reader port is big. Obviously, there could be a PIN code piece. If you really want to go crazy, you could implement all three. That would be like a Mission Impossible movie. You know, we really want this to be so secure. We're going to have multiple layers of technology. So, Jake, you know, the question I want to ask you in the few minutes we have left here, let's talk about price point, because you're the resident sales guy.
Yeah. So, we're definitely looking to come to market around that $1,700 price mark to start with. Again, seeing how user adaptation is, the need in the market and whatnot. But again, this is a very competitive price, especially for anybody who's bought biometrics, especially years ago, currently, anything. They know that's a very, very good price point. And I know we don't talk much about iris, but iris is usually a 3x multiplier on top of whatever facial or fingerprint biometric. So at this cost point, having an actual regular reader in there as well, a keypad, we feel like it's a very, very good value at that point.
Now, Stephen, and the QR code that you see on the screen will direct you. If you want to become a business partner, please scan that QR code and we'll take you right to a landing page, and we'll reach out to you if you'd like to join the Anviz community and become a business partner. What does that get you, Stephen? I mean, if a partner signs up, what obligations is Anviz going to provide to a reseller of this technology?
Well, we would give you the training you need. We'd give you a product to actually a very wide product variety. We're not just inheriting a single product from us. You're getting a range of products. So we've been talking about Palm Vein. I think Palm Vein is going to get out there and impress a lot of people. But not to take away from the fact that we do offer fingerprint and facial recognition products. But I think the goal here in talking about M7 is pointing out that we don't know necessarily what a company wants to do. What are they may have a plan today, but what's their long-term plan? What did they learn from COVID in the 2020 timeframe? What's their future look like? And so from our perspective, what do we offer them? We offer them the knowledge of biometrics from a legacy perspective. We offer them training that they could use. We offer them all the marketing collateral and partnership they can possibly need, and ongoing support. And if they reach out to us using the link that you provide, or reach out to me directly, I'm happy to talk to them and see what their needs are and see how we fit within their portfolio of current product offerings. We'd like to know that they basically will feel comfortable with what we offer and that we're here to listen to what they need and support them going forward.
Well, and I think the point you made is a very, very good one, is that the resellers that typically engage with solutions like this really excel at understanding what the requirements of their end users are. And it's not like a smart lock where, hey, let me just order a smart lock and put it on my back door. Understanding what the requirements of the user is what is their level of security that they're looking for in their organization, the training implications of this, the way it's deployed within an operation. Because again, an office may not need 100 of these in the office. They just may want to secure the outer area from the inner area. So that's obviously a small number of products. But we specifically wanted to partner with best-in-class resellers because they really know this space very, very well. Just in a couple of minutes we have left here, Jake, any closing thoughts that you might have?
Yeah, like on a personal note, I travel a bunch, all across the U.S. and whatnot, and I think everyone can kind of relate to some degree that having a touchless experience, especially for biometric, is very nice. Where how many times you've been pumping gas, the hand sanitizer's out, going into a building, and they have a reader there or a little station where you sign in, and then you sign something with a pen or you touch your finger on there to log in, and then you got to get the hand sanitizer and it's out. Most times it's never in there. So again, for hospital environments, other places where cleanliness, hygiene is a big factor, this is a nice form factor. And again, the ease and the use to have that level of false acceptance rate of iris, but you have the speed and convenience of like a facial biometric. To me, it's a no-brainer, and it's something I'm really excited to come to market with and help customers and see who needs this type of application.
Yeah, it's certainly an emerging technology that's now getting to price points which is much more digestible to deploy, and and again, ultra lock, X things, Anviz, the part of the value proposition of those companies, as we all work together, is really about providing better value for our users, whether someone wants to put smart locks in their home or solutions like this, which will end up in the enterprise. Stephen, any closing comments for you?
Sure. If I were listening to this webinar, I would say, if I'm somebody who's looking at getting another biometric for their business, the first thing I'm going to say is, I'm interested. What are the benefits? Let us show you what those benefits are. But I would ask you to recall back to the time during COVID when you couldn't let people touch your fingerprint reader, your facial recognition. People are hesitant to use it because they're concerned about privacy implications of it. Think about that. And then think about what the benefits of a product like this that's properly priced, has the quality you want and the features you want. Think about replacing and upscaling your biometric deployments with a product that really meets today's needs and future needs as well.
Right. Well, nicely put. Jake, appreciate your time. Stephen, appreciate your time. Have a great Thanksgiving. I am sure you'll see future video webinars like this in the future. I encourage everybody who's listening, who is a business partner and would like to work with Anviz, please scan that QR code that you see on screen. And to all of you in the audience, have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.